afternoon. Today's video is going to be about this Soviet era cornet. This cornet was made somewhere in the United States of Soviet Russia in 1976. I know it was made sometime in 1976 because it actually, unlike virtually every other brass instrument I've come across, has 1976 stamped on it. Now it is, as you'd be able to see, a rotary valve instrument, but unlike most rotary valve instruments which are played on their side with the keys out to the side like this, it is played in an upright fashion similar to most normal cornets, or at least cornets that have piston valves and trumpets and so forth. And it has a number of interesting characteristics. Firstly, it is not lacquered. It is just a buffed raw brass finish, which is a bit interesting, and it makes it feel quite weird in the hands. It's not a sensation I like because it smells a bit whiffy too, and I've given this a really thorough clean. Next weird thing is that it has orange valve caps. I don't know what that signifies. I would expect them to be red if anything, but yeah, it has those orange valve caps. And despite being ostensibly a cornet, it takes actually a trumpet shanked mouthpiece. It came with a mouthpiece with it that I haven't actually dared to play yet because it looks like it was cut on some sort of very cheap lathe, and looks like it would cut your teeth or your lips if you try playing it, so I haven't done that. It has these upright rotary valves, and these are connected by these by three very thin linkages through to the actual rotors themselves, which are here. Now these linkages are very thin, and when you push them down they tend to click against this part, this tube here. So you know, there's a bit of a noise there. Now unfortunately these linkages are not as they were when this instrument was built, and the third valve only works sort of sporadically because of the angle of this linkage and the way that it affixes to the rotor here. I haven't found a way that makes it work reliably, but the other two valves, the ones that you use most of the time, are not too bad. You can see the mark here where the bell was made. So in many cases this part of the bell here is made as one piece and the bell flare is made as a second piece, and they put little tabs, nibble little bits out of the bell. There's an example there, there's another example here. So they've taken 3 or 4 little nibbles of metal, put these two together, hammered them on, rolled them flat and sanded them and so forth. But that seam is the most obvious looking seam I've ever seen. It's quite interesting. Now this instrument is sort of similar in design concepts to the Shargel Raven. Now the Shargel Raven is an instrument that looks somewhat similar to this. It has top action rotary valves. The rotors are arranged in a triangle shape so the valves can be a little bit more normal than what this one is. But there are a couple of downsides with this implementation. The first is these really thin linkages, which makes it a little bit weird. The second is the rotors themselves. I'm pretty sure that the diameter of the bore through the rotors is actually now slightly narrower than the rest of the tubing. What this means is that when you play it, the air is just a little bit more constricted, and that's something that unfortunately is a bit of a downside to this instrument. So that's really all I can sort of tell about this instrument. It's got just one standard water key. It's got, you know, all the usual features. There are no triggers or anything like that. So yes, what I'll do now is play a little bit of music. Now because this is a Soviet instrument, the only piece that I have that I think would be appropriate is the Grand Russian Fantasia, although this was written 19th century, so that's before the Soviet thing became a thing. You could tell that I excelled very much at history, can't you? So anyway, I'll play this now. I can't necessarily play it all because the third valve, as I mentioned, is a bit, or the third rotor rather, is a little bit inconsistent, but I'll give it a go. Oh, one of the other things, very difficult to hold this instrument in anything like a usual manner because you can't put your fingers here because they'll interfere with the linkages, and holding between these two pillars here means your hand's quite stretched, but you know, we'll put up with that. And this is where my third rotor is going to let me down.